At ease, brothers. At some point, man, you have to ask yourself the question of all questions, man. And I'm gonna tell you this: the younger you ask yourself this question, the better off you'll be. Because see, some people live their whole lives and they never ask this question, and the worst of circumstances hit them when it's too late. And that question is, how will this all pan out? In other words, when you observe your life and what you're doing and your conduct and your thoughts and your habits and your rituals, at some point you have to ask yourself, okay, if I do nothing else, how will this pan out? And I'm gonna tell you this, man, the sooner a man asks himself this, man, the sooner he will place himself on the path. Because this is the question that will put you on the path. This is the question that will make a man start seeking higher levels of understanding, man. And the thing is this: you can ask yourself this when you're at the bottom, or you can ask yourself this when you're, living the life of your dreams. Because to be honest, man, if a man hasn't tapped into that true walk, that true journey of life, he's still feeling empty. And what I mean by that is, like when I talk about being at my bottom, when I talk about back when I was had lost everything and was looking for food, and when I talk about that place, and then I talk about that place, at my 40th birthday party, having the epic pool party, having the baddie, having the bad whip. Those two places were extremely different. But to be honest, both of those places were equally empty. They looked different to the outside world, but they were equally empty, man. I had no fulfillment in both. And I had to ask myself the question of all questions. I had to ask myself, how will this end? And I'm saying this, man, if a man never asks himself that, man, to be honest, I can't imagine what life is like. Like the pain if a man never asks himself that, right? And I'm talking about all areas of life: your money, your relationships, your habits, your decisions. For example, man, like I know a lot of people, a lot of brothers talk about, hey man, you know what? And everybody's different. I know a lot of brothers talk about, you know what, man, just get the bag and live life forever, man. Like you don't need a woman in your life, and you don't. But I'll say this, man, like when I first started winning and I started, seeing different corners of the globe, when I started taking skydiving trips, when I started, hiking, different, mountains and caves of the planet, right? I was doing all that stuff solo. I still do it solo. But I'll be honest with myself, man, at some point in time, like I don't want to do that solo forever. At some point, I don't want to be one of these men that grow old and was so set in my ways that now I have no companionship. Not saying that I need a woman for happiness, but damn it, I don't want to do all that stuff by myself again. I want somebody to share that with. And I think about that, man, because a good friend of mine, brother that's younger than me, a good friend / mentor of mine, man, was telling me about a particular man in his life that lived a certain way, man, and had money and was doing things at a young age. And now he's much older. And he talks about the state that he's in, the state of regret for entertaining all these low vibrational women, as opposed to finding a woman that was on his team and that he could live life with. You know what I'm saying? So I saw myself. I said, you know what? If I change nothing about myself and I keep living the way I'm living and entertaining what I'm entertaining, I said, how is this going to end up? And I'm telling you, man, you have to ask yourself that question, bro. You have to ask yourself, if I keep spending my money the way I'm spending it, if I fail to invest in myself, how is that going to end up? And I'm gonna tell you this, man. You can talk about real estate, you can talk about stocks, you can talk about all that stuff. Investing in yourself is by far the greatest investment. It's by far where you'll get the greatest return. And when I say investing in yourself, I'm talking about investing in your craft. whatever it is you want to give back to the planet, whether you want to be giving spoken words, whether you want to write books, make movies, open garden shops, open salon, whatever you want to do, invest in your brother. There's no higher return on investment than putting that money in yourself. And I heard that for years, but I didn't really understand it. But you can look at the world now, man. Look at, for example, all these men. I was watching the ad the other day, not the ad, but the post the other day, man, where, what's the trucking company? I think it's Yellow Truck. Had these guys working there for 20, 30 years saying, hey, you know what? You got a big fat pension at the end of this road. And now these men are sitting there saying, hey, you know what? They showed up one day and said, hey, you know what? That pension you thought you had, that $300,000, $400,000, that $700,000 you thought you had been investing all these years, you know what? It's gone. And there's nothing you can do about it. Brother, I can't believe there weren't more news articles based on the aftermath of having such a conversation like that. Because I can't imagine what I would have felt being there. You know what I'm saying? Invest in yourself, bro. Because you got to look at, like, how does this pan out if I do nothing? At my last job, man, I'm going to tell you one of the most painful things I saw was when people had been in a company, since 19, 20, 21 years old, and now they were, hitting 60 years old, maybe 61, 62, and a company just came in one day and says, you know what? We're done with you. We got a whole new batch of men that are 25, women that are 25, 30, that are just now coming out of college. They got all these fancy degrees and letters behind their name. And we no longer need you. Although you are the subject matter expert of all that goes on here, although you've been loyal to us for 20 years, 30 years, although you still have about 10 years before you're fully prepared for retirement, we're done with you. And a lot of these people get out of these situations, man, having no thought of what I'm going to do next. I saw the writing on the wall, man. And I'm telling you, if you're 20, 30, 40, and you're listening to this now, you have to start thinking about this. You have to start thinking about this, man. You have to ask yourself, man, what happens if I do nothing? If I change nothing about my, the way I think, the way, my habits, everything, the women I entertain, what happens? What does the future version of me look like? What does my life look like? A lot of men won't ask themselves this question, man, because as much as I think about living in the now, your now has to be the greatest version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? So you have to see yourself at 99 years old and bring that energy to your now, but you have to think about it. And the thing is, man, it's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late to snap out of that trance. I went to my mom's house the other day for her birthday, man. Her birthday is August the 1st. And en route to my mom's house, man, I stopped by one of my uncle's house. Lives in East Texas, man. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, man. And it's crazy because, I snuck up on him. I pull up to his yard, man, and then I gave him a call. I'm like, I said, it's sold. I'm outside. He came out, we chopped, man. I hadn't seen Uncle in a couple of years. And even though he's gotten older, man, he came out glowing. And I was like, dang, Unc, you looking good. And we say that automatically, but I was literally saying, Unc, like, what did you do? Like, what did you change since the last time I saw you? Because my uncle, man, growing up, every time I saw him, man, he was always, lit and kind of having a good time and maybe sipping on something, just living a lit life. I'll say that, right? And my uncle that has to be, easily in his 70s, said, nephew, I just stopped doing this. I just stopped doing XYZ. I just stopped doing this. So I'm saying that to say it's never too late. It's never too late to come out of that and say, you know what? I have to do something different. Has a beautiful wife. He said, I just had to do something different. And now his whole aura is changed. His whole future is changed. I'm telling you, man, at some point, every man must ask himself, like, what happens if nothing changes? And I'll be honest, man, for me, it was more of, I mean, because yeah, you can look at the women, the relationships, you can look at the money aspect, but for me, it was this. For me, it was the most important thing in life to me is having freedom of the way my mind thinks. Like there's nothing more important to that. Like if there ever comes to a point where I can't think for myself, make my own decisions, eliminate my fears, eliminate the fears of the collective consciousness. If it ever gets to the point where I can't do that, I don't even want to live on this planet anymore. That's by far the most important thing, man. And I saw myself doing this. Like when I pause and ask myself, what does my future version look like? I said that if I continue doing what I'm doing, the version of me is going to be subject to losing the most important thing to me. And what I mean is, like I'll say this. I can't stand when something comes on the news to promote fear, something comes on social media, something comes over the airwaves to shift the mind of the collective consciousness, and everybody just gets on this boat. Like that is by far the most worst thing that I can think of. Like it's just instilled in me to go against the grain of the masses because I understand how the world works. You know what I'm saying? And I say, you know what? I never want to be in position where I lose that freedom. I never want to be in position where I'm relying on, some government to keep my lights on or keep me fed. I never want to be in position to where some Fortune 500 company can say, you know what? No, if you don't do this right here, if you don't add he, him, she, them to your email address, if you don't think like this, if you don't go get that thing, then you can no longer be here. I no longer wanted to be in position where I couldn't give the world the middle finger at any point in time. You know what I'm saying? So I had to say, you know what, man? If I want a certain result, I have to change something. Like I have to put myself on a path of higher level of understanding. I have to put myself on a path that's going to connect me with my source. That's going to give me immunity to a lot of things that people are fearing. You know what I'm saying? So I said all that to say this, man. At some point, you got to ask that question, man. Ask yourself, like if I change nothing, if I change none of my habits, if I change none of my thought patterns, if I change none of the people I'm hanging with, if I change nothing that I'm doing from sun up to sundown, what will my life look like in a few minutes? And again, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're at the bottom or if you're winning. Because if you haven't really asked yourself that question and put yourself on a path of understanding, energetically, you're still the same. You might not think you're the same. You might have a few things that are shiny, but brother, you're still very close to the bottom on an energetic level. You know what I'm saying? So brothers, ask yourself that question. What happens if nothing changes?